here we are looking at what we do through a very close lens, what we do and what we can do better. So thank you for all you've done for us over the years in your life devoted to education and our benefit that we are the beneficiaries for our kids. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Well, good morning.
Good morning.
I have been talking about you all over the world, and it's time to talk to you and tell you what I've been telling people. What we are going to do today is to, as Joyce says, dig deep into some big ideas in physics, quality management, and networking science, so you understand what you have achieved, which is so extraordinary. You have broken the boundaries of organizational design and have created a new organizational archetype called the network organization. There are network organizations that show communication systems and digital everything, but there is nothing written anywhere about the human organization network. And so you are the prototype. And now you're going to find out why. And hopefully these ideas shared with you this morning that come from the sciences and also from my experience over the last 50 years with these big ideas and how they have grown over time and how I have seen you grow over time, having been connected with you since Joyce's beginning here about 20-something years ago. So this is a real privilege for me. When I came back 2 years ago, I said to myself, something has happened here. Everybody is still super excited. All the great renovation or innovations are going on and continuing to expand, and heaven only knows how that is happening because you've already had so much, but it's still continuing to grow. Parents are excited. Everybody who works on this campus is excited. It looks beautiful. Everything is, how does this happen? Something else has happened. So this was driving me nuts for about 2 years. I had no words to explain it. And my expertise is in organizational design, leadership, and management. And I had no words to explain what had happened here. And so I was working on my training program, Leadership for Sustainable School Development. I got to one of the modules, and it was on students in learning organizations. And I thought to myself, this school is doing more than this. Now, this is the state of the art in most schools, to have learning communities where people work together. But that's not all you do, is it? You are connected in some unbelievable ways. About 2 months ago, my daughter, who brought her research team here to look at this school when they were giving a paper in Orlando last year, said, you've got to see this school and its quality management operation. This is the best there is. So she brought her faculty members here. This is the faculty in the Social and Behavioral Sciences College called Quality Management. It's not education. So she brought them here. They went home, they talked to their colleagues, and their colleagues decided to bring me and share with them what I had learned over the years about systems thinking, quality management, and so on in education. We want to work with this school because this is among the best prototypes we have seen. They're working with industry in Sweden. This is one of the best prototypes they've seen. So they want to learn with and from you. So formally, this presentation is called My Journey with Systems Thinking, Quality Management, and Sustainability, which is a new concept in the past decade or so for all organizations all over the world. But in this case, it's for education organizations. I want to take you on a magic carpet ride with ideas. The ideas come from physics and from the sciences to help you understand what it is you have done, and also to give you more confidence in moving ahead on these big ideas. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Oh, no? Okay. This is a story about energy. Energy is the basic element in the universe. It's the most important. And so the question always is, how can we get energy for this? How can we get energy for that? So the question is always, how can you build energy for this, that, and the other thing? It's an Olympic mentality. So here are a couple of laws from physics. Basic idea. The energy for change comes from what kind of connections?
Positive.
Yay, positive. positive. Does this school operate on that? Absolutely. All right, here's some other ideas from physics as well. Negative connections kill off life and growth. Do you know how to kill off negative energy? Positively. Oh, that's beautiful. Okay, and no connections lead to decline and death. All right? Now, positive connections stimulate positive growth. I love this picture. This is it. This is so important. This is why energy, building energy on your part is so important, because there is no life where there is no energy. Okay, so strong connections produce their own energy. And I'm reminded of the time when Alex Lerner, who runs the Mindfulness Center in Tampa, was visiting Joyce, and I was there, and we were having a conversation. And Alex was asking Joyce about the school and how it worked. And he finally asked her, how do you keep up with this? How do you maintain your energy, your enthusiasm? Where do you go to get... And Joyce was bewildered by the question. And I said, she gets it here. Because strong energy systems generate their own energy system. And that's what happens to you all. Nobody's telling you to do things beyond whatever you start in the morning, whenever you end in the evening. Everybody in the world knows what you do above and beyond. And you do it because there's energy for it. It's good energy. And that's what keeps you going. You are building your own energy system. That's worth clapping for, isn't it? Yes! Okay. Now we're going to go to the science of organizations. It was built upon Newtonian physics. And we're going to move to quantum physics and what that did to the thinking about how people work in organizations. And basically, the Newtonian physics idea gave us the image or the metaphor of the organization as a model. You design it, get people to work in it, and when they don't work right, you supervise and correct the behavior. If there's a problem, you fix it. And when it's old and out of date, it dies. You throw it away. What happened was that quantum physics led to the idea that the universe is alive, it's expanding, it's growing, and living systems are there to be created, nurtured, enjoyed, and done whatever you want to do to develop the living environment. And so we're moving now into seeing the organization as a living system. This all happened in the 1970s. When I was a doctoral student, I had the greatest major professor in the world, Robert H. Anderson, who became my husband. And he said, he was the dean of the College of Education at Texas Tech. And he said to me in the beginning of this my program, why don't you go over to the College of Business and see how they think about leading schools and leading organizations? So I happened to be lucky and take a course in management, in which the first work of using quantum physics translated into the social and behavioral sciences as systems thinking. It's the same science, has a different name. First book in systems thinking, systems approach to organizations and how they grow and develop. And the basic idea here is that things are connected. People work together not only within their own isolated units, but units are now connected. Okay? But what is the focus here? The centerpiece. It's management, right? We've got the idea of togetherness, but management is still the focus. There's another idea that emerged, and that is that the organization as a living system lives within an environment. No school lives in the same environment. So what is good for school A may not be good for school B because they're in different environments, right? And you have a changing environment that you dwell with. Okay, so this was the early 70s. That changed my life forever, this idea of the school and the school district as a living system that can be developed and grown. And so I created, for the book that Bob and I wrote, and I'll show you the cover of that in a few minutes, we took the same ideas from Kasten, Rosenzweig, gave some different names that we thought applied to schools, and had a different focus. So what is the focus? Goals. all of a sudden there began to emerge the idea that, oh, if living systems are what organizations are, let's think about goals for this living system. So that was a brand new idea that came into being. And so we developed a training program called Managing Productive Schools, which was offered all over this region and in many other places, built around a model of how leaders develop this organization through a system of organizational planning, developing the staff, developing the program, and assessing how things are going. And so this became a 10-module training program for school leaders and district leaders. We had a number of doctoral students study this and study the impact of this thinking on schools. And one study was a factor analytics study, which pointed out that this model of planning, staff development, program development, and school assessment was a factor of 1. Not 4, not 10, but a factor of 1. Which meant that if planning was not there, how would you know what to be focusing on? If assessment was not there, how would you know what to correct and plan again? So this concept of 1 validated the idea that the organization was not only living and growing, but it could be developed with some thinking about all of that. Okay, and here is the book, and here is the picture. Okay. We found out that in the process of the training, that the school's culture was the energy force that drove development. And the school energy comes from the idea of the positive connections. The positive connections become a force that changes things forever. And so gone are the days when the principal can come in and say, or the headmaster can come in and say, this is what we're going to do, you do this, you do that. This school would die on the vine. Well, it would rebel, absolutely, because that's not the way things work as we know today. So if we think about sustainability, the school's culture has to be positive, it has to be optimistic, and it has to be connected. People have to be connected around ideas. Okay, in time, we became aware, Kristen, my daughter, Michelle Acker-Hosevar, who was another doctoral student of mine, who just retired as the Vice Chancellor of Washington State University, working with these ideas, developed with our school districts in our region the idea of quality management in education systems, schools and school districts. And so this new model was the same systemic model, but we used an atom as a metaphor. Now, for those of you who understand physics, the atom has the helix design in a lot of different ways, and they pass through the center of the atom, and that's where it gets its energy. And what is the center of this model now? Quality student work. We've moved from management to goals to the student. So lots of doctoral dissertations were studied using on this particular model, and we began to integrate quality management conversation into our work on developing the school as a living system. And then there's another series of science called chaos theory that evolved from quantum physics. Quantum physics evolved in the early part of the century, and mid-century scientists at Los Alamos in New Mexico began to observe that living systems are not predictable, right? Think of your family, think of your classroom. Living systems are not linear, right? Nothing linear about a living system. And they began to identify many features of living systems of all kinds: hurricanes, weather systems, the beach, the forest, families, community, nations, all living systems. And so we took these basic principles from physics and developed the chaos theory of change. You don't have to read all those words, but the model focuses around the core, which is now student focus. And this is basically the idea of how you facilitate growth. How do you facilitate? Okay, you can look at the model if you want, but it's basically this. Pay attention to what's going on internally in your organization and in the environment. Use this, what creates disturbance or disequilibrium, as a focus for your attention. We need to focus on this. We need to talk about it. We need to do something about it. And so you get groups working together on how we resolve it. And eventually some new prototypes, examples, and permanent ideas emerge. And you let go of the things that don't work anymore, and you carry on with the new that's developed. So that gives a clue about how a leader facilitates, how you as teachers facilitate growth in your classrooms all the time. That led to a book called Living on the Edge of Chaos, Leading Schools into the Global Age, which has also been translated into Chinese. And here is Michelle and Kristen and Chinmin Sang, our partner in Nanjing, China. Okay, so these ideas were then integrated into our 17-year journey before I left and went to Maine in the International School Connection, where we worked with school districts, universities, schools all over the world on the idea of integrating what was happening on the global stage into a school. We worked primarily with principals. So John Fitzgerald has been with us all these years with the International School Connection, and he came down for visits, and Elaine Sullivan from Hernando County, who had been with us for years, came down, and John said one day, there's something going on. We've got to take this something very seriously. And people started suggesting that we kick up the International School Connection again. This is what's emerged, and this is based upon Corbett Prep. This model. We decided to not focus just on global learning in the International School Connection, but to focus instead, if we want sustainability to be a key, we decided it had to integrate it into the whole school and its development as a living system. And so now what is the centerpiece? Students, not only students, period, for whatever purpose, but students for successful global citizens, which means local and everything else, okay? So that is the framework for launching this new era of time. Systems thinking, we began to ask clarifying questions about what do we know about systems thinking by now? And based upon all that's been written over the years now in systems thinking, and there's one book that I'm going to give information to Mike about that was written by Fritjof Capra, a physicist. Now, it was a 2014 publication called A Systems View, an Organic Way of Life, and he talks about it for the globe. It's really the integration, the interdependency, and the cohesiveness of everything in a school. Okay? It's the connections, the relationships for sustainable growth to happen over time. It has to be continuously growing this. Big ideas, right? These are not policies. You will get policies and you will get systems, as Linda Wenzel says, we have systems for everything we do, right? But these systems thinking is big ideas on the relationships and so on. Okay, what is sustainability? I remember the time that John, Elaine, Joyce, and I were sitting around a table when we were thinking about starting the ISC again, asking the question, what is the definition of sustainability? And so we looked up on, we Googled it and we tried everything we could find, and there wasn't anything that I really liked. So I said, we're going to go to physics. So this comes from physics. It's not anything you would read in a physics book. It's my interpretation of physics. It's the growth of a living system as it responds to changing conditions. That's sustainability over time. Y'all know what UNESCO is? You know what it is? United Nations. Okay. It's the Organization for Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organization. It's a big deal. UNESCO has come out with a list of key competencies for development in any kind of organization around the world. And what is their number one competency?
Systems thinking.
Systems thinking. And what do we know about systems thinking? It is integration. Okay, now we've got that, right? So we understand what systems thinking is. Okay, and if you read through this some other time, you can see that you are doing all of that. for your kids, for yourselves, and with each other. Anticipating multiple futures, understanding and reflecting on norms and values, and so on. These are the key competencies, and this school is developing those. Here's another mindset. This came out of UNESCO as well. This is a mind shift on what is happening since organizations began departing from a mechanistic approach to organizations and moving to thinking about them as living systems, moving from profit and results to purpose. What is the purpose of this school? Private school with a public purpose, and what is its focus? Kids, right? Yeah, I mean, you all understand that. It's kids, okay. Moving from hierarchies where one role tells the next what to do to, now, quality management, 2015, moving it up the scale. I went to the Quality Management International Conference with Kristen and her colleagues last year. I was really interested in, what are they thinking now? My study was in the 90s and early 2000s. This is what they're thinking about, customer focus. Who is your customer? Students and parents. You focus on those, don't you? Okay, leadership. How many of you are leaders in this school for something or several things? Look at that. Woo! Involvement of people. Do you involve anybody? Everybody. Process approach. You figure things out. Systems approach to management. Organizing the relationships. Continual improvement. That's the big new focus of quality management. Forget goals and results and analyzing results. It's figuring that out yet, but the focus is on continual improvement. Hey, we're going forward to sustainability, and so on. Here is the leadership. This is what is being thought about in 2017. Leader as sustainability driver. Isn't that a great concept? Sustainability driver. You're driving that message. That's what you're focusing on in your work. A culture of continuous improvements with a constancy of purpose. You have all of these features in what you do and how you do it, how you provide leadership in your classrooms, to other projects around the school, to the school as a whole. Now, to Corbett. Are we ready for this? We know about this, right? It's all about kids. And the focus is on the Moore model, which people around the world now understand and are training other people for. It is your common cluster of systems, your most valued systems, from my observation. And here is the Moore model with these pictures that I love of you all. This is taken from our website. And Corbett not only focuses on its kids, but it provides a public purpose, and the public purpose goes all the way around the world with 3 to 5 day study visits, demonstration schools for more, for benchmarks, and so on, master teacher observation. Have event planning, you put on conferences, seminars, and so on. So you are serving the world. Okay, let's take a look. We've talked about a lot of big ideas from physics, right? Let's answer yes or no as a group. Corbett Prep is a living, growing system.
Yes.
Corbett Prep has work systems that are connected.
Yes.
Corbett Prep has goals that link to staff and program development and also to assessment.
Yes.
Corbett Prep is itself a dynamic energy force.
Yes.
The focus is on students.
Yes.
There's a chaos orientation to change.
Yes.
The edge of chaos. You laugh, but I'm going to get you. I'm going to get you here.
I learned the importance of disequilibrium right from Dr. Snyder.
And the message is that the edge of chaos, this is very important. The edge of chaos, when things are about ready to fall apart forever and be gone. The edge of the chaos is the best place for a living, growing system to be. Why? Because you can't go back and do the same thing the same way. It causes you to take a fresh look and to fix things, to drop whatever you need to do to move on. And so the title of our book was Living on the Edge of Chaos. That's what that's all about. Okay, so global learning. Do you have global learning going on at this school? Yes. Yes. Okay, how about systems thinking?
Yes.
What is systems thinking again? Very good. Is there sustainable growth going on?
Yes.
Is there a focus on purpose and empowerment?
Yes.
Everybody owns the journey? How many of you own this journey? All right. Professional development is central. Positive energy drives the culture. Yes. Okay. So have we passed the test? You're doing all that stuff. From systems thinking, quality management, that what we know about physics, of thinking about an organization as a living, growing, potentially sustainable system. But what happened to you? You were doing all that stuff for a long period of time. But what happened? There's another law from physics. Complexity theory is another theory. Complexity only increases. So if you think things are ever going to get more simple, go to another place. Because it's hopeless. And you have done this. You have created this situation. Complexity only increases. Repeat after me. Complexity only increases. A law of physics. Here's another law from physics. Surprise happens. It's a law of physics. Expect surprise because it's going to happen. Does it ever happen at Corbett? Yes? Here you are. This is what you look like. This is the basic model, and I'm going to unfold it for you. But this is the basic model of you as a networked, human networked organization. And on the bottom of the slide, it says what a network is. What is it? The interconnectivity of programs and services. The what?
Interconnectivity of programs and services.
Interconnectivity is more than connected. It's more than having a relationship. Interconnection means you kind of live together, which is really how you do it. It's a series of slides. But first, there are three concepts that you need to know from networking science. Hubs are the strongest influence. They're collections of energy that are the strongest influence. And they dominate everything else that goes on in the network. So who are the hubs? One hub. Specials hub.
Early primary. Upper primary. Intermediate. Middle school.
And middle school. Okay. And office. We forgot about office. Is office part of this system?
Yes.
Absolutely. Okay. Clusters. They are the second idea. Clusters are smaller ideas, but they're collections of energy. Links are what make this all a network. Okay. Here are the academic units, the major hubs. And what color are you? Purple. And what is the focus here? The whole child. These are your primary responsibilities, right? What you see in here around that is that each one of the purple hubs addresses or includes in its life is more, team teaching, STEAM, cooperative learning, field trips, world languages, and so on. You see, this is part of the glue that binds you together. Having these common values, these common ways of working with students and with each other. Okay, so what color are the hubs? How many are there?
5.
Okay, so now all of you 5 are in the middle, purple. The clusters include the academic cluster, administration cluster. Let's hear it for the administration cluster. All right, the phys ed cluster. The international cluster. The board of trustees. The technology cluster. Music cluster. Arts cluster. Okay? They're all connected to the 5 hubs. This is what you look like. See, the 5 hubs and all of those systems are in this purple. What you see around this is all the other stuff that's going on. I was talking with Catherine the other night. She said, oh, we have committees too. Who's on the diversity committee? That's not up here. Social committee. Fine arts. Education. PFA. Are there other committees? Think about it and let me know, and I'll figure out how to add those. Assessment. So this is you functioning as a human network. Do you understand? You have moved beyond functioning in isolated silos, as Joyce likes to talk about. It came out of the quality movement, an idea where things might be together, but they're private from everybody else. Okay? You have the hubs, but you are all connected in ways that can't be identified, really, except by a picture. All right. Who's in charge of curriculum studies? Who's responsible? Linda? Okay, Linda, stand up. Who's in charge of IB? Stand up. Stand up. Who's in charge of Kagan Cooperative Learning? No, keep standing. Keep standing. Who are the division in charge of division musicals? How about whole school musicals? STEAM program and exhibitions. The STEAM committee. Community School of Sports. Division school leaders.
You're part of that, Ivan.
Yale's 4 pillars of well-being. You're already standing, okay. ISC school partnerships. Fine Arts Festival. It's exhausting, isn't it? The Community School of the Arts. Okay, Language Arts school-wide. Cindy? Okay. Modeling teaching for visitors. Do I have math school-wide? Tell me here. Okay, let's give a hand for all of these links. You are the links. There's more. These are different clusters. The Spain program, the International School Connection project, international trips, international baccalaureate. Well, we've already done that. The China program. These are all different clusters. External networks, performance learning systems, Kagan Cooperative Learning, Florida Council of Independent Schools, International School Connection, International Baccalaureate, Contentment Foundation, schools in China, schools in Spain. Those are the networks you have external to what you do. But here are some things we know about networking science. Here are some big ideas that you can hang your hat on. Networking is basic to building communities and societies since Sumerian times, 6,000 years ago with the first known human culture community. Networking science, however, didn't begin until about the 1960s with the idea of 6 degrees of separation. It's random, okay? But the scale-free, another kind of network science, emerged in the 1990s. That's not very long ago, around computer network growth and planned network systems. Human networks have become the new social morphology, you like that, for the information age in the late 1990s. And theoretical physics now is studying emergent behavior. That means it continues to come forth in complex adaptive systems. And you are one of the most complex adaptive systems called school that I have ever witnessed. Networks and the laws of pure form and the interconnectivity of things. How do networks form and function? A network is a rapidly evolving cluster of interactivity. A network grows itself from a common purpose. Complex networks are more stable and sustainable over time. I found this one amazing to think about. Because you are complex, because you're dense in your connections and your interconnectivity, you are less vulnerable to anything that would like to come in and change you. Okay, you are stronger as a unit because of that. The free flow of information is vital to your growth. Strong networks have multiple leaders, as we have seen, and networks can only be understood as a whole, and the function of all of the parts to its growth. So, here we are. Perspective. We've got a network map of a school, a new architecture of the human network organization, and it happened right here at Corbett Prep. And network energy is around a common purpose and the human connection system. And now we have, born right here, the network school for a global age of living. Okay? These are pictures taken right here of you all. This is your life. This is what you have achieved and you have developed. Let's stand up and give ourselves a great big hug and hug each other. As we think about these ideas, I hope you will go forth with more confidence, more zeal, and more energy to keep doing what you are doing, because it has generated a miracle, the networked organization.